The moon hung low over Eddyville-Caston, a pale, ghostly glow on the Kentucky State Penitentiary. Known locally as the Castle on the Cumberland, its once grand stone walls stood shadowy and worn, silent witnesses to decades of grim events and untold horrors. Within this eerie fortress, countless souls had met tragic ends, some strapped into the infamous electric chair known chillingly as Old Sparky. Officer Jake Caldwell had patrolled these dark halls for 10 years. Usually, his shifts were quiet, even dull, but tonight felt different. Jake moved slowly through dimly lit corridors, flashlight clenched tightly. His eyes darted nervously at every shadow. A deep, unusual chill crept into his bones, colder and more unsettling than he'd ever felt. He shivered, trying to convince himself it was just the building sage playing tricks on his imagination. But suddenly, from deep within death row, came a faint metallic scrapping sound that sent chills racing down his spine. Gathering his nerve, Jake continued cautiously, his unease growing with every step. The air around him grew noticeably colder, and his breath formed tiny clouds that lingered briefly before disappearing into the gloom. Without warning, a shadow darted swiftly across the hallway ahead, vanishing into one of the empty cells. Jake's stomach knotted tightly in fear. "Who's there?" Jake called, his voice shaky, echoing eerily down the corridor. Only silence answered, heavy and deeply troubling. Taking a trembling breath, Jake approached the open cell door, heart hammering in his chest. As he stepped inside, the darkness swallowed the beam from his flashlight. Suddenly, whispered voices filled the room, panicked, frightened, and filled with unspeakable pain. They quickly swelled into a chorus of anguished cries. Before Jake could react, the heavy iron door slammed shut behind him with a loud clang, trapping him in total darkness. Panic surged through him as he frantically shook the flashlight. But it flickered weakly, then died. The whispers grew louder, transforming into agonized screams. A sharp scent filled the air, an unmistakable smell of burning flesh and electricity. From the suffocating darkness emerged glowing red eyes, staring directly into his soul. A voice, as cold and sharp as rusted metal, hissed cruelly in his ear.
"Welcome to Old Sparky, officer. We've been waiting for you."
Jake gasped in horror as unseen forces grasped his wrists and ankles tightly, holding him down. He fought desperately, feeling himself pulled downward into an unseen abyss. The room spun around him, flashes of tortured faces appearing vividly in his mind, victims trapped in eternal agony. A sudden, fiery pain surged through Jake's body, overwhelming him completely. He tried to scream, but his voice was lost in the voices of tormented souls swirling around him. The unbearable torment seemed to stretch into eternity until finally, a chilling silence fell over him, colder and more terrifying than the screams. The following morning, guards found Jake's flashlight abandoned on the cold concrete floor. Despite a thorough search, Officer Jake Caldwell was never found. But from that day onward, those who dared venture near death row swore they could hear a new voice among the ghostly whispers, a familiar voice, desperately begging for release from eternal imprisonment within the haunted walls of the castle in the Cumberland.